Have a
Now
roll
it
call.
is.
Bruner,
Yes. Here.
English,
Here.
Farnham,
Here.
Elsley, Voigt,
Yes. Here.
Zuber,
Here.
Jenness.
Here. You read the minutes of the January 8th, 2014 meeting.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All,
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the first.
yeah. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Minutes of the special meeting, January 15, 2014.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All those in favor, by the usual sign.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item 5, claims against the county.
If there's no questions, I'll move that they be approved.
Second.
No questions? All those in favor of approving the claims against the county?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. County board member claims, item 6.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, usual sign.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item 7, public comment. Hearing none. Item 8, a presentation by Butch Parrish on the preservation of the county recorder's books.
I want to thank you for giving me just a brief few minutes to address something that is rather urgent. Mr. Chairman, honorable board members, guests, honorable sheriff, treasurer, whoever I miss, you said guests. I spend a lot of time in this courthouse. I love it. I'm a historian, if any of you didn't know that. I spend a lot of time in these vaults, in the county clerk's office, and in Augie's office, and in Karen Holleran's office. And I want to go on record right now thanking, I want to thank the county board, first of all, for allowing the 2 clerks to allow me to do my research in those vaults. Without access to those vaults, I'd be able to write nothing about, if you've read anything I've written about county history, Digger County Courthouse. I spend hours in those vaults, as the girls will attest to, because they hear me moaning and groaning when I can't come up with something that I'm looking for, and it's usually right in front of me. Okay, now, so I'll get right to this. These books and I'm putting these gloves on because I don't want to be criticized for something I say when they be handled. They need to be handled with white gloves. It's because of the acid and oils in your hands. This book right here is a month and 2 days away from being 191 years old. This book and book 2 are in the county clerk's office, where they should be. They're the supervisor's records. Every minute, every word that's ever spoken from 1823 to today is recorded in these books. Okay? The writing in these books is in cursive, and it'll be hard to do this because these books are getting in bad shape, and that's why I'm here. But anyway, the writing in these books is in very, very flowery cursive, as you can see. It's very hard to read. When I started doing this about 20 years ago, it took me 6 to 8 months just to be able to interpret the writing in these books. It's totally different cursive than what we use today. Okay? This book in particular, maybe it's the second, yeah, it's the second book. This book is, April, the 3rd Monday in April 1821. That's the first day of existence of this county. It's all written here. These books are priceless. This book, and I'm not going to open it very far, I know I'm going to pick it up, the pages are coming out. They're loose. Also in this book, I found documents, handwritten documents, and I can get these up. These are priceless. These are oaths that were taken by various office holders, signed and sealed, and they're on loose leaf pieces of paper. These need to be preserved. I'm going to put those back where I got them. Now, Clerk Griffith and I have talked about this. We started talking about it, I think, about 3 years ago, wasn't it, Augie? And he said, you need to look into this, to take care of this, to put these in sleeves. Well, you can't go to Benjamin's and buy a plastic sleeve like we all use to put a piece of paper in, to save. Because the paper, it's not preservation type sleeves. So you might as well leave it loose. Okay, and I'll get into that in a minute. Now, this, okay, let me put this away before I forget it. And I'm taking these right back to the vault when I'm done. They don't need to be out of those vaults. This box, when I was working, pardon me, on the Edgar County history book, I think Joe Sanders put me onto this box. It's a shoe box, older and dirt. And I was looking for records of when the courthouse was built. I wanted receipts. There's none. Now, the books go into what was spent. Joe Sanders said he thought there was a shoebox in a vault, and I looked, and Augie and I found it. This is that box, and I'm not going to open this very far. I did organize it some. These records go back to 1890 and farther back, and you can see they're in terrible shape. Some of these documents, and like I said, I really don't want to unwrap them. They're all written in indigo black. They're on onion skin. And you all know what onion skin is. That's what they recorded on, okay, on onion skin. And they're folded. I mean, it's just nothing short of a miracle that they even exist. In a shoebox that was in the back of a vault for 200 years. Okay, now I'll get to where I'm going. And get out of here so you can carry on with your business. There is a way to preserve these documents. Now, one other thing I might mention. The first 13 books are in the circuit clerk's office. They're in pretty good shape. Some of the ink is fading, and that's because of the quality of the ink. All of these are savable. I mean, there's no question that they can be saved. And probably if you left them right where they are, just exactly the way they are today, 100 years from now, they're going to be here. 200 years, they're not. Maybe not in 100 years. They're going to deteriorate so bad, just because of air, if nothing else, and light. The other books, from 13 on to today, are in Augie's office, in the county clerk's office, okay? And those books, most of those are typed. The pages are typed, very easy to read. They are also inventoried. There's a table of contents on each book. So instead of going through and reading every word in every one of these books, I've done 3 times. Every book, every word, 150 years worth of reading. Okay? I know what's in every book. You can go down that table of contents and find what you're looking for in a very short period of time. Maybe 20 minutes instead of 2.5 or 3 hours. One item. Okay? That's a good thing. Walter Kimball and Sanders, Vermillion, you know what I mean? Yeah. They're the ones that were responsible for doing that catalog in the front of those books. And it took them weeks, months, years to do that. And I remember Walter Kim talking about it. They spent hours doing that stuff. It's all typed out. Good research, good data. Now, that job that they did can be carried on. And there are people that, let me see if I'm getting all this in line now where I want to be. Yeah, I am. There are people that do this work. And it is very, very time consuming. It is very, very expensive. I know the county doesn't have any money. I'm not asking for money. I'm asking for one thing. I want permission to pursue funds to get at least the first 13 books cataloged, photographed. They put the books back, and then you have a book like this, but it's in modern day style. Somebody can come in off the street, pick the book up. You don't need white gloves. You read it just like I'm reading off this pad. It can all be done at a cost. I would think probably over 5-10 years, 1 book a year, 2 books a year, but I urge you to do it. The first thing that needs to be done is that box right there. That box is priceless. The statue on top of this courthouse, nobody knew who made that statue. Nobody. The answer to that came out of that box. Okay? Accidentally. I just was going through it and I found it. New Salem, Ohio. That's in that box. Priceless documents. Those need to be put into protective sleeves, put into books like that that can be opened up, take the sleeve out, put the sleeve back in, close the book up. That needs to be done. So what I'm asking for is permission to pursue the funding to get that done. And then if you give me that, and I'm not asking you to talk about it, I'm not asking you to make a decision today. Nobody's going to make split decisions. And I agree with that. You talk about it. If you make a decision, tell Augie, the county clerk about it, Mr. Griffin about it. He can tell me, and I'll go on with it. And there are funds available because I went behind your back. I've already looked online. And there are funds available. You have to jump through a lot of hoops. And I'm sure that they're probably matching funds. But what I want to be able to do is to give you a report. I want to come in and say, this shoebox right here, full of these priceless documents, can be preserved for $5, $5 million. I'll have a cost and try to have where that money can come from. And if it has to be matched, exactly how much. That's what I'm asking. Now, I've got one other thing and I'm out of here. Now, did I make myself clear, George? Augie?
Yes, you did fine, Butch, thank you.
I just want to make sure I got all the bases covered. Now, I want to thank the county board and the road guy, Aaron, for the new bridge on Cherry Point Road. It's beautiful. It's a nice, nice big bridge. And I live on that road and I'm across it 3 or 4 times a day, very proud of that road. Now, one thing I'm going to plant in your mind. 9 years from a month and 2 days from now, April, is the 200th anniversary of Edgar County. It's a momentous event, monumental event. You people need to be thinking about that. It's 9 years away. I would suggest that within 5 years of that, 4 years from now, you have a steering committee appointed to work on that because there's a lot of things that can be done to make that a great celebration. And this county deserves that celebration. I hope you agree with that. But, I mean, it just, so I just wanted to plant that thought in your mind. There's people here in this county that are as interested in history as I am that can help with that. But whatever you do, whoever you appoint, give them plenty of lead time on it. Don't start a year before. We did that with sesquicentennial for many years ago. My God, it was a mess. I mean, there was so much to do, and so much you could do, and so much didn't get done because we didn't have time to do it. We had a good committee, but there just wasn't time. So give yourself plenty of lead time on this. Get some people involved. Ned, Charlie, Jared, Joe Sanders. I mean, there's a dozen people that I can bring to mind just, you know, off the top of my hat. And so I'm taking 15 minutes of your time.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, any questions at all? No. Okay. Well, this bothers me. This really bothers me. And I mean, it'd be ideal if all 38 books could be done. You know, it's going to be over a long period of time. But you guys talk it over.
You say 38 books. Is that from the start of things till now?
That's from one book to today.
38.
Actually, I think there's 43. And, you know, and I don't know today, and of course, I'm a historian. I don't care, well, I do care about history because history is history, but I care about ancient history. And I don't know, they don't use those books anymore, do they, T? I mean, you don't record anything in those big books anymore.
No.
It's probably all on computer.
Everything's online now on computer.
It's all on computer now.
Right.
So those books that are there are done.
Yes.
I mean, we're not having any more of those books. It would be one thing that I'd suggest if we do get to do this, is that all those books be put in one vault. They're split right now, and that's okay, as long as they're in the vault and the vault's locked. That's the important thing. And these old books, the first 13 books in particular, if people want to use them, I mean, I'll buy the gloves and give them to the county, but you need to have a shoebox full of white gloves in each of those offices to put on when you're turning these pages. Because every time you touch one, you're just putting another nail in its coffin, okay? And I wouldn't let anybody touch this. Nobody.
We'll have county clerk put that on our minutes for our study session to discuss this.
Thank you very
And we'll
much, people.
get an answer for
I
you.
appreciate your time.
Sure.
I enjoyed it.
And we thank you for the presentation.
You're welcome. Yeah. That's it.
Do you need help, Butch, or are you okay?
I got her.
You got her? Be careful with those books as you walk out the door.
You're a bang out here. You get the books before you get me, all right?
Item 9, presentation by Bellwether LLC on the cost study for the county clerk and the sheriff's office.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Bruce Delaskin. I'm the owner of Bellwether LLC and a native of Edgar County in Paris many years ago. Not quite as far back as Butch was talking about, but soon. It's my pleasure to present the conclusion document for the fee review conducted in the county clerk and sheriff's department. There are a number of pages here. I'll spare you with the mind-numbing detail of them, but we'll cover each of the points and invite questions anywhere along the line. So beginning on page 2 is an overview, and let me start by saying that the departments. All right. Yep. The departments were or should be recognized for the level of detail and record keeping, which made the review very accurate. The level of commitment of the staff that spent several hours with us explaining in detail the steps of providing each of the service. Bellwether's methodology uses 2 approaches. We talk to the people who actually do the work and aggregate the cost up, but we also use your budget and all of your costing data and break the information back down. So that top-down, bottom-up approach makes sure that we can account for all of the actual costs within the department. As you'll see in the middle of page 2 there's a table 1. That's kind of the end of the story at the beginning of the pages. So after our review and aggregating all of the actual cost in providing these services, if the county set their fees at their actual cost, the aggregate potential is $160,982. Now, here come all of the caveats after that. The actual costs go to very detailed penny amounts. So it'll be $18.17. Most counties we work with don't chase the pennies, they chase the whole dollar. So that will change a little bit. The volume calculation is based off of prior year volume. So the number of marriage license, the number of recorded documents. If those remain the same in coming years, then it's pretty predictable what the potential revenue would be. On the sheriff's office, a very interesting footnote that the collection within the sheriff's office, this reflects the $83,566, reflects if the sheriff was able to collect every dime that was on every fee. We know historically that that is not the case. However, we've been working with a number of sheriff's departments on addressing their collection practices. So many, and our line really is, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So a lot of sheriff's departments, because they have a hard time collecting the fee, don't attempt it. Our encouragement is to try and attempt it. Now on top of that, the Illinois State Comptroller has a new program where they will work with local governments on collections deducted directly from payments coming from the comptroller's office. We've been working with a number of counties on how to set that up. It's a bit of an information exchange between local government, and that's just not applying to the sheriff. That applies to all fees within the county, and whether or not there's any payment coming from the comptroller's office. So, moving on, the page 3 is really a description of what I've just told you, that our method is, we try to be as inclusive as possible. And there's a lot of things that when you think about the cost of performing a service that don't come to mind immediately. The cost of this room, the cost of all of the space inside of the clerk and the sheriff's office was broken down to literally the cost per square foot per minute of use. So the level of detail in the cost of these services is finite. Even the cost of conducting this meeting is a part of providing policy to these departments, and those were aggregated out as well. I think if we want to save a little bit of time, and I really do invite any questions along the way, I'll draw your attention to page 5, table 3. Now we try to present information in a lot of different formats, so they'll repeat themselves. It'll just look a little different. This one is just a bar graph that shows the differences between your current fees in the blue bars and your actual cost in the red bars. Now what you can see is that in some of them you have a significant difference, and if you look to the far right, the tax redemption and the general recording fee, there's a significant difference between your current fee and your actual cost. Others have less of a difference, but tend to have a higher volume. So something you do a lot with only a $1 difference between your current fee and your actual cost actually has a significant impact to the general fund, because it's the general fund that's subsidizing all of that behavior. The next page over, page 6, and we provide a synopsis of each of the relevant state statutes. So across here you can see some of the details related to the county clerk's office, Vital Records Act, and there is a very detailed call out in the county statute that allows the county board, after assessing your actual costs, to reestablish your fees not to exceed your actual costs. So the board is within its statutory rights to establish the fees. Now a little more detail, if you're really the numbers geeks that we are. On page 7, and these are things that you'll reflect on going forward, I'm sure, it tells you where we came up with the number. So I'll just quickly recap the categories so that we can explain how to look at it. To the left is a list of fees, and moving to the right, there are always distributed fees. So in the clerk's office, they collect dollars that are used in the GIS department. They collect dollars that are transferred to the state, either by marriage or by death certificate. So there's a lot of money that is collected as part of these fees that don't actually stay in the county. They move to other areas. there's an automation and document storage fee. Now that number right there is a capture of time, a moment of time on what it's actually costing you now to manage your online imaging, your technology in the office. That's a moving number. And you can really look at that almost on an annual basis, and the last presentation is kind of a topic that we encounter in a number of counties of how do you create funding for programs like preserving documents. The statute allows you to use this portion of the fee to set some aside, some accumulated funds to be able to do that. These numbers reflect your current state, so it would not reflect any additional cost to the program we just heard about. Coming to the right, it gets a little easier. Your total labor cost, this is by minute, total equipment cost, facilities, and the red column in the middle is your actual cost. To the right, we estimate if you raised your fees to the actual cost, now that would include the pennies, what the gap would be and what your new annual. And in the clerk's department, you can see that the total increase would be $77,416. Yes, sir.
Here in the red, that's
your actual
Actual cost,
cost, the sum of all expenses in providing the service.
and the 2013 fee is what we're actually charging
Today.
currently.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. And you can see that there's, and to the right, it'll actually give you the gap. You know, you're pretty close on a fair number of them, within $1 or $2. Now, I want to bring your attention to the marriage license. The statute for marriage license allows you to raise it to $75 per license, regardless of what your cost is. Although we find most counties south of I-80 tend not to go that high. So here are the caveats, and usually these are the quick talking at the end of the commercial on this. What does this depend on? The actual revenue that you would create depends on the fees that the board establishes, and whether or not last year's volume predicts for this year's volume. So if you did the same number of marriage license this year as last year, this would be the potential increase. So I'll stop there. Any questions on the county clerk recorder's office? So I'll add then that the next step on each department, after reflection, I'm sure, is for the board by ordinance to establish a fee schedule. Now, in the back of the document, we provide a template for that ordinance, and truly it is a handful of paragraphs, and then you put your fee schedule at the bottom of it. Fairly straightforward. Yes, sir.
Do these have to, that ordinance that sets the fees, is there a prescribed time that can be done? Can that be done mid-year? Should that be done effective?
I am not
first of the
aware of
fiscal
any
year?
cycle, like the beginning of your fiscal year. I know that we serve counties year-long, and we attend board meetings where they change fees year-long. Are you aware of any?
You know, frequently we will see counties that want to announce and set a date out in the future for some period. As an example, Augie may have pre-printed forms or something in his office, and he may have a 3-month supply of them that it doesn't make any sense to waste them, or he feels strongly he doesn't want to, or he wants to give the title companies and the local attorneys a 2-month notice or something. So you may take action today, but you may set a date out for June 1st or something to make them effective.
Thank you.
There's also no requirement that they have to be done in batch. You can do groups of them. You can in counties where we see large differences between current fees and actual costs, then we see them make incremental changes over a period of time. You really don't have any that are that extreme, but the latitude is there. On page 8, you'll see the bar chart for the sheriff's department, and this really, not that the clerk recorder's department wasn't a joy to be with, but the staff in the sheriff's department were particularly attentive to detail in their record keeping, and we spent quite a bit of time in the cell block area for the right reasons, I want to point out. So we spent a considerable amount of time talking to the staff and really understanding all the details that it takes to do the work. And when I set that up really to look at this bar chart, as you come across, we're talking about the bonding fee. So this is the actual fee for presenting bail. So if the bond is set at $500, then this is on top of that $500. The cost of actually processing the bond. You can see in this that there is a significant difference, and that your actual cost in providing that service, we just did a statewide survey through the Illinois Sheriff's Association where we compared bonding rates on multiple counties. Your actual cost is very comparable to other counties your size, and is still significantly lower than the counties higher or above I-80, which is kind of the big bucket counties. To the right, fingerprinting, and fingerprinting is an interesting topic that a lot of people get them for different reasons, whether you're getting them for a firearms ID card or concealed carry, or you're getting it to volunteer in a classroom. There's a number of different reasons to have fingerprinting. This is probably one of the fees where we see sheriffs use a great deal of latitude in assigning the fee. They may have a fee for volunteerism versus a fee for an application for something like that. That way the fee doesn't stop people from volunteering for the good of the community. Several of the other fees are new and have not been previously collected in Nagar County, and those are related to inmate services. So you think about inmate services that include escorting an inmate from the jail to attend court, escorting an inmate to a medical facility or to a doctor's office, providing prescription medications or providing over-the-counter medications, Motrin or Tylenol or anything like that. Each of those can have an assigned fee to them. These are the ones where sheriffs have been reluctant because, based off of their customer pool, they have a low collection rate on them. We do this presentation a lot. But our philosophy really is you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So if you are only going to collect half of what the potential is, that's significantly higher than you're collecting now, which is zero of the potential in these fees.
You know, the prescriptions and
Yes.
the medical part, the board did, after I did the suggestion of the collection of through fines, which we're supposed to call State Attorney or whoever, and make sure that that's part of the fine. Did you take that into consideration?
If you are collecting this fee through another mechanism, then that would replace that.
Because we do, it's very indigent, and we have to pay.
Right, so now this is different than the cost for the prescription. This is actually the time, effort, and facilities necessary to put all of the medications on a cart and push them around the hallway and give everybody their pills. So if you're already collecting the cost for the prescription in their fines, this may be a different category. Happy to clear that up.
Yeah, because we still have to walk around and give them the meds.
Right.
Not on the cart.
Right. One way or the other, it's costing you labor hours to provide that.
Okay.
So the next page over, page 9, is the Sheriff's Department in detail, and I won't review all of it. We'll jump over to the actual cost. So if you look at actual cost compared to the 2012 fees, you can see there's opportunity. And I want to call your attention to the bottom right of that chart where we show the full potential, $83,566.41. And then we've adjusted that based off of the department's current collection practices. So if nothing else changes and you don't access the comptroller, I don't know if you're actually accessing the comptroller program yet or not. It looks like you could collect $58,185 with no process changes, but the process changes are pretty straightforward. When you have repeat visitors and they have outstanding bills, and you have an opportunity to collect, you collect. So the charts to the bottom there just recalculate the numbers based off of that probability. And we provide this really to put a level of reality around the expectations for the department. The remaining pages are, as I said before, examples of county ordinance. Now these are probably the brief versions of these, but we have one for the clerk and recorder functions separately, and then the sheriff's functions. So, our pleasure working with Edgar County. We spent an awful lot of time in your budget information. There are a wealth of opportunity. What can I answer? Any
Is
questions?
there a reason or a difference between the sheriff's department being, looks like 212 and clerks at 213, or is that, or am I looking at that wrong?
No, you're probably looking at a fat finger hitting a 2 rather than a 3 on that.
On page 8?
On page 8 on the temporary.
And I'm looking at page 5. Maybe I'm looking at the incorrect information. I'm looking, or is this the wrong thing? Or am I not comparing?
No,
apples
it should
to
be,
apples?
this should be 2013.
Okay. Your fees are probably the same, 2012 and 13. There wasn't a difference. But I'm just curious,
right.
whenever he was going back to check, because
Right,
I'm assuming you're basing it off of what you think you can do in
exactly right,
2013.
exactly right.
Well,
Any questions?
when other counties that you've worked with implement increases in fees, do they normally do it like a one-time thing, or do they maybe increase it 50% increase one year and then maybe another 50% the next year, or do most of them do it all at once?
So truthfully, it's driven by the financial stability of the county. So we had a very large county this year that had nearly $1 million in fee increase potential, probably the most severe that we've seen. That board took all of that opportunity in one fell swoop. Their range of change was 3 times yours, and but the county was committed. I think a pretty common, as my colleague was saying, a pretty common strategy is to let the departments work on setting the schedule. There are transactional fees within the clerk recorder's office that can be changed fairly quickly. Some of the tax, it's actually a pretty good time of year to change your tax redemption and take notice, because that cycle really doesn't start until later in the year. If we were here in October doing this, you may want to stay with your current fee and then catch up on the next cycle.
You done this to so we can justify raising the rates. How long is this valid?
So the only thing that'll happen to this document, it'll begin over a period of time to not reflect your current costs. So if you do even a very modest 1% across the board salary adjustment next year, your labor will be 1% lower than it actually should reflect. Typically, it's a 4-year cycle when counties kind of come back. In 4 years, you can be 10 to 20% difference. And sadly, other than labor, technology in county government isn't getting cheaper, it's getting more expensive. So as you invest in technology, all of that information shifts these numbers. Now, one part of the study that we did not do for Edgar County that you may want to consider in the future is a cost allocation plan. And cost allocation takes all of the expenses across the entire county, and that information is used in grant administration and in several other financial realms. But to answer your question, you probably got a good 4-year shelf life on this. The longer you go, the less accurate it'll be to your cost.
Any questions?
I've got a comment. I think you should raise that marriage license up to the full amount, $75. I got mine in Vigo County was $18. Pretty good deal. But my divorce was $750,000. For $18, you don't really miss it.
Without objection? All right.
$75 is not bad.
Mr. Chairman, would you like the finance committee to get together with the appropriate offices
Yes.
and start to work on a recommendation for this, or do you want some other committee?
No, that's
or-
probably, would be a good idea. And have it, can you have that by next meeting, you would think? Or-
Let's say we'll shoot for the other one, but it may be, let's see, March, it may be April, okay?
Sure.
We've got a lot of other things going on too.
Good enough. Thank you.
Good, thank you very much.
If you want to move back, Bruce, we got plenty of housing out there available here in Area County.
At a great price.
Item number 10 is a request from Crispin Area Community Club to help support economic development with funds from the county hotel motel fund. Robert Allen, you're going to give us that presentation.
I want to thank this governing body for hearing me this morning. As you said, it's our Crispin Area Community Club, and as last year was our first year, we put on a spring lawn and garden show, and it's basically for, I mean, I use as much as I can people from Edgar County, the vendors and stuff. And our club really doesn't make anything from this. And it's more of a service to the town and the area, northern Edgar County there. Makes it a little easier for people to get their plants and stuff. And what we use this money for is advertising. And it helps, of course, get people locally to do it, but the more we advertise, it helps the vendors that come naturally through more sales and stuff. But that's what we use it for. We use it for advertising, and I mean, we really have very few things into it, but like I said, we can't hardly use out of our funds to advertise something we don't get an income from. And that's what I'm here today to do. And
I didn't see an amount.
$600 that we had last year. That's very sufficient. So,
Anybody have any questions of Mr. Hale?
thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. You want to take action on this?
Yes. I'll make a motion that we take $600 from the hotel motel fund to give to the Crispin Community Club for their advertisement for their spring fling,
Yeah.
whatever it's called. It seems to me like I remember last year the weather wasn't real good.
No, it wasn't.
So hopefully.
That was one of the things we failed on.
What's the date on this?
It's it's 2 months from today, April 19th.
Okay.
I second.
Hopefully it'll be good weather then.
Well, we try to do it before people get in the field, and because if you have a good weekend in May, a lot of people's already bought it,
Right.
and we just gamble on the weather. But we did do good. The vendors, I've got several that want to come back. So.
Well, that's good.
Any other comment? I have a motion on the floor to give $600 to the Crispin Area Community Club for their project. All those in favor by the usual sign.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you.
We have item 11, to accept the resignation of Kit Kirby as ESDA coordinator.
So moved. With regret and with thanks.
Second.
Second.
Any comments? All those in favor of accepting the resignation of Kit Kirby, usual sign.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 12,
Mr. Chairman, the committee sat down with Jill last week and discussed our options, and the committee is recommending that we appoint Jill Taylor as the acting ESDA coordinator. Additionally, we're also going out and advertising for the positions, including the office manager, and we're looking forward, with the dates assigned, to being able to come back to the board next month and get everything on a working basis, or permanent working basis. So I move her approval as acting ESDA coordinator.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve Jill Taylor as acting ESDA coordinator. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item 13, resolution authorizing fees for multi-township and township assessments. Would you want to address that?
Okay. Because we have been having vacancies in the township and multi-township assessing by statute, the supervisor of assessment office has to complete the assessments. And because the county should not have to bear the cost of local government, we're going to initiate a fee to cover our costs for the office to go out and do the assessing for the townships that have a vacancy. Right now we have one multi-township and a single township that do not have an assessor.
Bev, for example, if a township has 1,000 parcels, then that would be $1,900,
Correct,
right?
yes.
And there's no add-ons, that's just
No, that,
whatever it is,
that much
there's
per
no
parcel.
tax, there's no additions or corrections.
Right, it's just so much per parcel for every parcel in the township.
Do you want me to read the resolution? Whereas pursuant to 35 ILCS 200/9-230, the supervisor of assessment must complete the assessment in a township or multi-township with no assessor. And whereas vacancies have occurred in townships and multi-townships within Edgar County, and whereas the county should not be responsible for township and multi-township government's costs, and whereas the number of parcels in each township or multi-township varies, a charge per parcel for a total number of parcels listed in the previous year's assessment books will be charged yearly for completing the assessment. Now therefore be it resolved that for the current assessment year of 2013 payable 2014 and future years, a charge of $1.90 per parcel will be charged for completing assessments for townships or multi-townships with a vacancy.
Bev, is this something that goes on that you know of in other counties? Is this
Yes.
how they handle, if you don't have townships that are doing their thing? Is
Yes.
this what other counties
The
do?
counties, the supervisor of assessment office has to complete it.
Right, and so,
So they charge, I mean, there's various ways of charging, but rather than saying $5,000 for a township, the small townships will be paying a lot more than they should,
Right.
and the large ones will be paying less, so I thought this was the fairest way to distribute what the cost is if we have to do a township.
Currently, how many townships are you doing the assessments for?
One for Ross, and then one multi-township, Buck, Kansas, Grandview.
4 different townships.
Is this mainly to address the quadrennial assessment?
Well, the quadrennial is included in that. We do one every 4 years. so
Right.
Yes, it covers that also.
We have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Yes. We'll have a roll call.
Ready?
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Barnum.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Zuber.
Yes.
Resolution carried. Item 14, advertise for interest in operating a commercial business at the airport.
Mr. Chairman, we have discussed this, and we felt it only appropriate for the committee to bring it to the board so that we could all decide that before we proceed in any one direction, we need to collect information, and the best way to collect the information is to advertise for interest in commercial operation at our main hangar out at the airport. And so, starting tomorrow and ending on the March 5th, we're going to be advertising, if this is approved, for proposals for interest out at the airport with references. It's fairly simple and straightforward. We don't want to make it too complicated. And that way we can proceed and have confidence that we have given everybody an opportunity to express their interest.
Well, you're asking for approval, not just
To approval to advertise, yes.
How much detail are you gonna ask for?
We're gonna leave that up to them, what they want to describe. And remember, this is a little informal. We may get one back, we may get two back, but then we can, as the airport committee, can sit down with those individuals and explore what they have in mind. And then we can get into more detail. We're not limiting their detail. If they want to give us a lot, that's fine, but they're gonna have to give us some detail, okay? Does that fairly represent what we talked about? Okay. So I would move for the approval to advertise for this, please.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of advertising for operating a commercial business at the airport, by usual sign.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Item 15, authorized payment of costs in 13 MR 72, Craft versus Airport, FOIA, Freedom of Information Act.
Get a little background on that.
Foggy, you have anything for us?
Well, this was a case or a suit filed by Mr. Kraft against the county board and the airport for not delivering, I believe, in a timely manner, all the documents that were requested by Mr. Kraft. And there was an agreement to settle this. And so
This is reimbursement for
these are
costs.
reimbursement for court costs.
Yeah.
It's basically, yeah.
So moved.
Yeah.
How much is the?
What's the amount?
Mark did not give that to me, but I believe we're somewhere in the $300 to $400 range. Is it? I'm shooting from the hip here, but
That's what we said.
I think that's about right.
You got a second? All those in favor, by usual sign.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 16, resignation of Dorothy Brenneman as Commissioner of Edgar County Housing Authority.
I move to accept her resignation.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor of accepting the resignation of Dorothy Brenneman?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item 17, appoint Hazel Horseman as Commissioner of Edgar County Housing Authority to complete term created by the resignation of Dorothy Brenneman. Term expires 8/19/15.
As I understand it, these are members of that, they live in the
That's
housing.
actually a person
And
that
there
lives
has to
there.
be, the person that resigned was somebody who lived there.
Yes.
And the person that's being being appointed to fill out that term is somebody who lives there.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, I guess the statute requires that you have one resident on that board, and Dorothy's a resident, and Hazel is a resident, and so, yeah. And this recommendation came from John Hollis.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of appointing Hazel Horseman as Commissioner, Edgar County Housing Authority to complete the term created by the resignation of Dorothy Brenneman, by the usual sign.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Is there, I got a question, is there another vacancy on that? Seems like
There is.
2 or 3 months ago, someone else,
Mike Wright resigned,
okay.
and we're waiting for a candidate recommendation from Mr. Hollis. I'll remind him, Carl.
Item 18, highway resolutions. Resolution number 1, resolution authorizing county board chairman to award and execute a contract with Hoist Contractors for the following: Ike, Kansas Resurfacing and Gutter Replacement Project, Section 12-00108-02-RS.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Any discussion?
That was under,
It was under the engineer's estimate.
right.
We'll have a roll call.
Bruner,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Farnum,
Yes.
Voigt,
Yes.
Zuber.
Yes.
Resolution carries. Item number 2, resolution authorizing county board chairman to execute Amendment 2 to the intergovernmental cooperative agreement for the following: Village of Kansas IDRP space PI project number 08-354044, section 12-00108-02-DR. Could you tell us what that is there?
This is the second amendment to the original IGA you guys signed when we first started This second amendment increases the amount that the county receives for paying for the project by $238,000.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? I'll have a roll call vote.
Bruner,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Farnum,
Yes.
Voigt,
Yes.
Zuber.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 19. Officers and department head reports. Don, you can start.
Okay. As you look at your fund balances, I'd just like to point out that because of the board meeting being late in the month, because of the holiday last week, both payrolls have hit. So it may only show that we're $7,000 different from a year ago, but remember, a year ago only one payroll had hit. So you know, I'm just, as you look at the numbers, make sure you absorb them the way they're presented, meaning everything is hit for the month except for our demand batch that'll hit towards the end of this month. I don't know how much that will be, but the previous month we got $56,000 less when you're talking about where we stand. But also in that, we've had a longer time period since the last board meeting, an extra payroll. We've actually had $371,000 in expenses that and to me that makes me smile, because not only we're only $56,000 less, but we've also paid $371,000 in expenses. So we're really not as bad as what you would think we would be. When you compare the subtotal of spendable money, we're not far from $100,000 being better than what we were at this time last year, as far as when you take into consideration all our revenue funds and reserves. I have 2 bills sitting on my desk, actually on the board, pinned to my board next to my desk. It's for the software for our property taxes and the software for our financials. I have spoken with them, meaning the accounts receivable departments at these places, and I've requested that we be able to pay these as late as possible with no penalty, and they are more than happy to work with us. Matter of fact, one of them actually split the $56,000 amount into 2 installments, so I'm just trying to delay having to borrow money as much as possible. until we start getting tax dollars in. So that's a good thing that they are working with us. It doesn't cost us anything more. They just working with us. I think that's a good business practice on their part, and it's a good thing for us to win-win situation. Any questions?
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Aaron, do you have anything from the highway department?
Just a quick comment to what Butch had said. He said he appreciated the highway department for the bridge out on High School Road, and I want to make sure the proper credit is given due to the county board and to Mr. Barkley for, 14 months ago, Dale petitioned the county board for aid in constructing that bridge, and it was the township that bore the majority of the cost in that bridge. So I just want to make that clear to everyone. So thanks to go to the board and the Paris Township for that work.
Thank you. Anything from the Supervisor of Assessment's office?
Yeah, I got a couple of things. First, I want to commend Don on talking to the vendors and postponing our payments. He's done that ever since I've been there, and I think that's an excellent thing that he does to save the county some money. Assessment notices went out. They have until February 24th to file a complaint. We've had some complaints come in about the average number, so that's going fine. And then our website hopefully will be up and running around the 1st of March. We had trouble with a couple of the vendors communicating, but that got smoothed out, and so I think we should be online the first part of the month, and taxpayers will be able to assess our financial records as far as what their tax bills are, and the GIS system. Looking at a map, they should be able to look at what their property record card looks like, and it's something I've been looking forward to for 5 years since I've been here, a goal I've been working towards, so I'm real pleased that that's going to be taking place real quick.
You say that'll be ready by when?
Hopefully around the 1st of March.
1st of March.
A little longer than they predicted. They thought the middle of February, but like I say, there was a little miscommunication between a couple of vendors, and that's been smoothed out, so they're predicting around the 1st of March now.
Anything else? Thank you. Esther, have anything, Jill?
Nothing other than what Jeff said. We are accepting resume, or send the resume for a vacant position we have available.
Thank you. Dale, do you have anything from the airport?
Been fairly quiet. It's been very, very bad weather for good weather for a lot of snow removal. So, and the energy crunch probably forced us to do something we should have done anyway, and we hadn't been. We've really, really cut back on the amount of LP gas usage just by working the thermostat to our advantage. Everybody ought to do that, I guess.
Thank you. Anything else?
Thanks.
Thank you. Ed, do you have anything from the Sheriff's Department?
Monty.
Okay, go ahead.
Nothing new from probation.
All right, sorry.
And seeing Monty, I need to apologize, Monty. I don't know if we let you know, but we have received around $44,000 in probation payments from the state, which is well ahead of last year. It's almost half here, so I'm smiling. That is, the state is helping. I hate saying that, but the state is helping right now, so.
I'll take credit for the moment anyway.
In general, is the state better than what they have been?
Yeah, that, my mouth dropped open when I saw those payments. Yeah, because last year it was such a chore, Monty. I mean, we were wondering when that first payment was gonna happen, but once it happened, and I think if they do like they did last year, we ought to see the rest of it pretty quick, within the next month or two, so.
I'll try to keep it up for you.
All right, thanks, Monty.
County Clerk.
I first of all want to thank Butch Parrish for his efforts and his concern, his genuine concern for the county records. It's fascinating to sit and listen to Butch talk and about the history of the county, and I really appreciate that, and am hopeful that we can work something out and that he's successful in obtaining some grant money to help preserve those books, because that, you know, knowing where we come from helps us in determining where we're going in the future. So I appreciate Butch. I'm sorry he's not here to hear that, but I appreciate the Bellwether gentlemen. Thank you for all that you've done. Pleasant to work with, and I'm looking forward to meeting with the Finance Committee, and hopefully we can implement some of these enhancements. We are very busy in getting ready for the upcoming election, which is March the 18th, and early voting has started. Of course, the state, in their infinite wisdom, they give it 3 different names for the same thing. It's in-person absentee all the way for 40 days prior to the election. But today starts the first day of grace period registration and voting. So if you want to come in and register to vote, you have to register and vote at the same time. So that starts today, even though we've been voting since February the 6th. And then we'll get closer to, yeah, it's through March 15th, but then in a couple weeks we'll start doing what's actually called early voting. And that's you just come in and vote for whatever reason you want. It never ceases to amaze me what comes out of Springfield. But we are voting in the voting center right now. So spread the word. Early voting is easy and no hassle. You don't have to wait in line. And we encourage all people to come vote. Mr. Voigt.
How did the drive to get some of the younger ones to vote? I understand some of the high schools worked at it.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me of that. We had a, I would say, fair. I mean, I appreciate the efforts of the high schools and some of those people who are interested in getting the younger folks registered, because there was a bill that was passed, and the new law that basically says if a voter if you're going to be 18 at the general election in November, of course you're 17 now, you can register and vote in the primary. So there was a push to get some 17-year-olds registered so that they could vote. And you know, I appreciate everybody that wants to vote, get registered to vote. The turnout was small to fair, so, but the effort is appreciated.
Well, I think Kansas and Chrisman each had, I think, 20.
Yeah.
So that was pretty good representation because they're relatively small schools. So.
Right. Okay. Yeah, when you look at it in that context, yes. Well, I appreciate that.
Drums wherever we can.
Hopefully they'll come out and vote.
Hopefully they'll get out and vote.
Augie?
Yes.
When's the last official day? Is it today the last official day to register?
Yesterday was the last
Yesterday was.
official day to register. Now, registration is closed, but the grace period registration has opened up today. So you can.
So if you missed yesterday, you can come in today.
Yeah, if you missed yesterday, you can come in today, but you gotta vote.
You register and vote simultaneously.
Can't vote at the polls.
Right, you can't vote at the polls. You
How
gotta.
long will that last? Just
That?
today?
March 15th.
The grace period lasts.
It's not me making the rules. I'm just interpreting and playing by the rules.
Thank you, Augie.
Yeah, and anybody else that's already registered can vote all the way up to the day before the election. And we're busy entering, extending taxes, levies, and there's just something going on all the time. We're busy. So, any other questions for the clerk? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Committee reports. Jeff, you want to start that?
Sure, why not? we got a bill from the regional office. I'm gonna hand this to Alan for half of our fee that we owe. Could be $18,100 and some dollars. I also got a, let's see. Our insurance company sent us a, let's see, make sure I just do this right, a claim for our deductible for $2,500 for the Bud settlement. So that's gonna go through, just so you see it in next month's bills, you'll know what that is. That's where we settled on that. So we have to pay our deductibles $2,500. I appreciate what Don said. It's always, we have been on an uphill climb, but we're still headed in the right direction on cash flow, and we continue to head in the right direction on cash flow, and we appreciate your management of that. Thank you. Budget, I'm sorry, we didn't get it split into departments, but.
That's,
Yeah, I know, and that's fine. I mean, but we are under budget. I think we've got 25% of the year in, and we're at 18.8% of the budget. So we're doing fine. Obviously, we need to keep watching and looking and concentrating on things that we need to. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. It's all pretty positive.
Thank you. Carl?
Augie, do you know the letter that we had to send out about the bidding for engineering firms? For the,
Yes.
so where are we at with that? I was thinking there was kind of a timetable in that, or,
Yeah, I believe that's due, I want to say, end of the month, 1st of March.
do we sit, what, do we have to send a letter to this, to DOT over there in Springfield, or do we just have, is it put out for bids? I don't recollect what it
It's
was.
Hanson has given us a form letter, and we basically need to put it on county board letterhead and insert some dates, I believe, and I don't have it memorized,
Okay,
but
but-
I just need probably one of you, well, we were gonna try to meet, but I think we got bombed by the weather,
Okay,
and so,
so we need to soon get that
Yes.
finished and get sent to whoever. it needs
yes,
to be
that's
sent
correct.
to.
It goes into Hanson, and then I think a copy of that letter goes into the DOT.
All right. So let's get
No,
that done.
I've got
I
it,
keep nagging.
Okay,
yeah.
that's
Thank
it.
You had something about the Attorney General that you wanted me to remind you?
Not right, not
Okay.
this time.
Okay. You don't have anything else?
No.
Alan?
A couple things. One is on our next study session on the 24th, just as a reminder, Travis Bushu from Bushu Human Resources is going to be there. That's a part of our insurance group that we hired as consultants. It's going to be talking about the Affordable Care Act, for one thing, plus any other questions we may have. So if we have questions, appreciate if you give them to me or whatever, and I'll try to give them to him. Because it deals with any sorts of health insurance, general property casualty, the whole ball of wax. One of the things that we also got hit with was like a 3.5% increase on top of the other ones, which was just the start of the Affordable Care Act. That was just kind of get it running. There was also, I think, a delay on some issues coming up that was supposed to be again January 1, and it's been pushed back. But this initial part is there, so it caused an increase for some individual people too, as far as that.
Can I ask that, I'm gonna be at that meeting, but I need to leave. If we could put that at the beginning of the agenda, I'd certainly appreciate that, because I'm supposed to be out of town, but I have time to be there. I'd like to hear that. I think it's important that I be there.
I'll make a note.
Thank you for the consideration.
Other thing is, I was also at a 708 board meeting today. That's the county mental health board meeting. And here's some information that Ken Polkey had put together. And I'm not going to go over it. Ken said he'd be more than happy to come and also talk at a study session about this. This is from a countywide tax. I mean, we get this And it kind of shows you an idea. Bobby Morris is our treasurer, and he can give you all some more information. You can tell it's kind of put together. But I like page 2 of that because it actually showed on there. Ken is trying to go through because it really, we are only the Edgar County 708 part, and if you look at that, he tried to put dollar amounts basically so that we can see what we're getting paid for from the county, what the county's actually paying for these services for our mental health and stuff. So if you have questions about that, you may want to talk with Ken or Bob or Mr. Ned Jennison, who's the chairman of the 708. And
Anything else?
what? I guess it's not. Nope.
Augie,
Yes.
are you gonna have, Billy Ann come to that meeting?
Yes, I am.
And, how's everything working since we've had, Bushu, representing the county? How's everything working together? Is everything up to your expectations, and has there been any problems? Or is there some things, issues?
No, I mean, it's like anything else. When you start a new
Right.
relationship, you just got to get used to the people involved. But no, it's been pretty quiet. It's been pretty quiet. Yeah,
Or are you getting what you expected out of it? The working together with you on it?
Well, we haven't had a lot. The Bushus, they're very professional and very
Okay.
quick to respond back, and all that
Mm-hmm.
is very good. Yeah, I mean, very pleasant to work with and email back and forth.
And I know
But we haven't really had any issues to deal with. Does that make, if that makes any sense?
I know they were wanting to be kept informed on a lot of stuff that was going on, and I just curious whether they're getting their
Well, and I think that's
information.
something that's a good thing to ask even if it's a safe question. I think that's a great question, Carl, because I think there's probably some issues that, Augie may have or somebody else may have, because I don't know that we're still getting the word out to all of the department heads, like, hey, anything that comes up that you think you may be dealing with any sort of risk management, liability, all that
Right.
stuff, you need to get that to our point person here, which would be Brian, so that that can automatically be shot down the bush chute. Because, and that's just, like Augie says, kind of growing, maybe a little growing pains or growing stuff like that, because when I've talked at different times to some people down there, they're still looking for some information, I can't remember which types of departments or stuff, just so that when we get ready for the bids, this time they kind of want to have that information way ahead of time, if they can. So it's a working progress, would that be
I would
it,
say
Augie?
yes, that's fair.
I don't think we should miss the opportunity though, if we're gonna get together,
Yeah.
to gloss over anything. If there's, and I don't wanna be negative, but we need to be, I'm sure they need to be forthright with us, and we need to be forthright with them.
We're having an audit tomorrow, by the way. It's the annual, was it workman's comp? What is that, risk?
Yeah, risk management.
IPRF.
Yeah, and I know that Pam in my office has gone the extra mile. She has actually contacted some of the departments and clarified a few things and gotten some of these names that don't even work for the departments anymore, getting them out of the as far as active employees, so that hopefully we'll see that in a positive reflection in. So you might think about that if, when you get back to your office, if there's anybody that you know that we're not aware of, that we need to be taking off the workforce kind of thing, that would save us money on the.
The other issue is, and I hope we don't have to commit, they come in, they audit, and I know in the past, they've gone, oh, Secretariat Airport needs to be put under airport, so instead of 57 cents per 100, it's now $4.57. And I think Bushu should be apprised of that and go to bat for us with examples, or say, no, that's appropriate, because I know there's several categories that I think we're getting hurt on.
And I think that's a part of what we need to discuss there too, like Carl was saying, but also from the department head standpoints of like, those type of companies, the same way like with Bellwether and all the rest of them, they're gonna know basically what what information we're gonna give them, so like if Pam's going through there and finding that stuff, that's gotta be a super help, because each of those departments, it's really critical. If we're gonna talk about risk management at all, that's huge.
She gets frustrated every year, and I don't blame her, because different auditors come in, and I swear they've had a bad night the night before, and they decide, you know what, heck with it, we're gonna change this, and we don't understand their method of reasoning.
I think we should have a recourse on, or at least say, okay, we don't agree with that.
Right.
Prove that.
For the most part, they're right on, but there's those little areas that, you know, where I think we could
You'd almost think
protest.
they were on a quota system.
Yeah, exactly.
They're gonna find something, pretty
Well-
sure of that.
And a legitimate deal, yes.
Dale?
On the ambulance, I'm gonna meet with Eric Shaughnessy tomorrow. Hopefully we'll work out all the details on the contract specs. Then we'll run it by Mr. Isaac prior to bringing it to the board.
Thank you. Dan?
Yeah, met last week with Andrew at the animal shelter. The new adoption program appears to be doing very well. I think that time she only had 6 dogs in the shelter, which is half of what she normally has. She does have some new cameras that we're gonna put up for the surveillance system whenever the weather gets better. She does have a new door that is gonna be put in also. She did have to hire somebody to plow out the road twice when we had the snowstorm. And I told her I would check with the city. And it's kind of odd that you got the city department across the road and they can't come over and plow the snow. So I called Mayor Smith and he said he'd take care of it. So the next time I had a snowstorm, the city would plow out the road. It cost us $70 right to plow out the last time.
I also talked to Jerry Branson, who's in charge of streets. And I talked to him last week and explained the situation. He said, definitely that's something we can get done, and he was going to see that it got done too.
I went to the main cause. So we'll be taking care of it.
Anything else?
On animal shelter, just real quick too, going with our insurance crew, once they found out that we are going to a different process as far as adoption, they've also sent us some specs as far as possible resolution that we may, or we probably would be wise for us as a board to adopt, but right now we're gonna take that back to the committee and have them look at that and make sure that that is what we're doing. So we may have something in our next board meeting actually as far as the type of adoption, since we're kind of going into a different liability range there a little bit. And I've also had Mark Isaac look at that too.
Item 21, closed session, discuss appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance.
I move the board go into closed session to discuss appointments, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body and petty litigation.
Second.
All those in favor of going in the closed session at this time? Use the sign. Opposed?
Mr. Clerk?
I have got
You shut that other one off, didn't you?
Not yet, I'm going to.
Oh, we got plenty in there.
Oh, your signature, okay.
I'm gonna pick it up so I can sign it, so you don't have to deal with that again.
Projection.
It was the number T.
All right, Mr. Chairman,
Plus Titan.
Go for it.
go for it.
Okay.
We're back in open session.
Yes, we're back in open session. Any other business to come before this meeting? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's adjourned.